Hi, hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Amber and today I'm going to be sharing with you my weekly reading wrap up. But because this is also the end of the month, I thought I would first start off with my reading stats that I've been collecting for each of our month and just share with you what those are, and then talk about the books that I finished, which was only 2 this week, and then one book I put to the side, and then what my reading week may possibly look like. Okay, so let's just talk about the stats. So first off, I do use G from Book Roast reading sheet spread thing that they created, and I really enjoy using it, but I'm gonna like share all the details of that at the end of the year when January comes by, and we can talk about all of those details then. But these are just like the things that I like to keep track of in general in my little book journal. So anywho, I read a total of 12 books, and they were Heir Apparent, Autobiography, The Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, The Nightmare Thief, The Bone Season, Wizards of First Rule, A Princess in Theory, Blood Like Magic, The Hill We Climb, Punk 57, and Now She's Gone. And I DNF'd 2 books, which were Wizards First Rule and Punk 57. 10 of the books that I read were first time reads, and 2 of them were rereads. 4 were owned, and 8 were borrowed. 5 I read physically, 2 I read as ebooks, 2 I read as audiobooks, and 3 were mixed media. And now on to my favorite and worst books of the month. So for the favorite, I actually have 3 books that are my favorites. I was able to rank them, but I felt like I couldn't not say that these were technically favorites because they all has strong emotional reactions, positive, and I really enjoyed their stories overall. So my number 1 favorite of the month was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. The second one is Blood Like Magic by Lascelles Sambury, and the third one is And Now She's Gone by Rachel Houser Hall. With the worst book of the month though is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. If you want to hear any of my thoughts on any of these books, I have my weekly wrap-ups up there, and you can check them. And if you want to know why I absolutely could not stand Punk 57 and DNF'd it, it's in my most recent wrap-up. So there's that. I'm really enjoying the way that I'm doing my reading journal. I used to try to do like a bullet journal, but because I'm just not very like creative when it comes to drawing and such, and I don't have that capability, I found myself not wanting to use it. But now with this, like I'm all gung-ho for it, and I'm wanting to like do things to make it more pretty, I guess, in a way. Like at first I just started like writing, and then like just putting the pictures. So like on a distance it looks actually kind of nice that way, but my handwriting is like not that good, if you can see. So I just ended up like halfway through the month changing to like this, but this kind of seems kind of bland. So I'm starting to like change it up for like this next month. Like I did like an actual cover page for the month, and then this is where my stats are. And then when I do my reviews, I'm going to start I'm going to be buying some construction paper and actual glue so that I can glue the pictures there, make it look a lot more nicer. So it'll be like really nice and a little bit more colorful as I go along. So I'm really enjoying my way of doing it now, because now I'm excited to put things in and to continue using it. So that being said, that's actually talking about the 2 books that I did finish. That's the wrong one. The first one was the Two Towers by J.R. Tolkien, the second part of The Lord of the Rings. It's very interesting to like see how when you reread things, how things can change for you, or you see things in a different way than you did before. So when I first like read this book and I heard people start talking about how Frodo and Sam's relationship was more romantic than platonic, I just didn't see it, and I think a lot of that has to do with where I was at that time. But now, as I've educated myself and learned more and just saw more, the more that I started to like, I couldn't like trick myself into not seeing it, because it's like it's subtle enough to be like where you could easily trick yourself into believing like, people are just seeing what they want to see. But then the more that I read this, and especially this time in reading it, I'm like, there's no way that you cannot see that at least Sam, on Sam's side, is in love with Frodo. So there, it's more romantic than I thought it was when I first read it, and I just find it very interesting how rereading books can do that. And this is why I'm such a huge advocate for rereading, because sometimes when you first read a book, your emotions, your emotional reaction to it plays a huge factor in if you like it or dislike it. And when you reread it later on, you may find that you actually like it more, or you actually don't like it as much as you thought you did, and or your level of like for it stays the same, but you notice things that you didn't notice before. And I just absolutely love that aspect of rereading. So I've never been afraid of rereading. I totally understand like why some people don't want to read certain things, especially when it comes to their childhood favorites, because you just don't want to read that. You don't want to ruin that experience. But I didn't really read books when I was a child, and there's like certain things like I was like when they talk about like those like the Goosebumps books, those kinds of like, yeah, obviously I wouldn't want to read those books again if I had read them as a child, because I know that they're not going to be good when you're an adult. But anyways, I just think that it is such a great and sometimes even an important aspect of reading is to reread your books, because you just never know what you're missing out from rereading them. Anyway, I really enjoyed my reread of that second part. And then the next book and last book that I finished this week was And Now She's Gone by Rachel House Hall. This is about Grayson Sykes, who is a private investigator, and she's trying to investigate and search for this guy's girlfriend named Isabel Lincoln. But she starts to question, is she really missing, or did she choose to go missing? And so she's kind of, like, she ends up kind of being very reluctant to search for her. But the more that she investigates into this woman's life, the more secrets are revealed, and the more murkier and uncertain she becomes about who Isabel Sykes, I mean not Sykes, but Lincoln is. And I absolutely enjoyed this book. The writing, the Grayson herself, the twisty plot was just all things that I truly enjoyed from this book. And the thing is, when I first started reading it, I was expecting it to be very predictable. Like there was like certain things that I was like, okay, this is also obviously going to go this way. And then all of a sudden, there's like a twist. And then I was like, okay, well, that must be that's going this way. And it just kept me like guessing, because I was thinking this, and then it would change it around just enough to be like, okay, not exactly how you expected it. Either I would say that if you are somebody who reads a lot of mystery thrillers, this is probably going to be pretty predictable to you. But as somebody who, like me, who does not read mystery thrillers at all or very little, this I think will be great for those people, because it's going to be less expected. And I just really enjoyed the story. And Grayson is such a great protagonist. I loved seeing her not just with the investigation, but with certain things that are going on in her life that was just as intense as the actual like missing person plot line. So I just really overall was completely enthralled, and I want to read everything that this author has out there. So that will be happening hopefully in the next year. Then this week I put aside a book because I feel like it'll be better for me to read it as an audiobook. So this book is If I Tell You the Truth by Jasmine Kaur. And I will straight out say that there are trigger warnings. And if any of these trigger warnings would be a trigger for you, I would please be careful about picking this book up. Take care of your health. Because yeah, it deals with some pretty big things, I say. So the trigger warnings are sexual assault, police brutality, immigrant trauma, victim blaming, domestic violence, alcoholism, depression, anxiety. So if any of those things are a trigger for you, again, just please be careful. But this is about Kieran, who when she's 18 years old is sexually assaulted and ends up pregnant as a result. She leaves Punjab to go to Canada, and there we see her raising her child that she names Sahara and ending up living undocumented there. Then we also see Sahara's perspective as as her mom gets arrested for living undocumented, finding out who her father really was, and trying to seek justice for her mother. So I absolutely think that this is a book that's going to be very hard hitting and definitely something that I really want to read. I want to see how their story pans out. But I only read 50 pages and I was like literally sick to the stomach and I was so furious. Uh, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say that it happens pretty quickly that you see already victim blaming happening. And I'm just like, I'm so enraged for Kieran, and I just like my heart breaks for her because not only is she dealing with like her own family treating her in such a horrible fashion, she is living in a foreign place and she feels so out of place and just she's lost and it's just like my heart breaks and I don't know how she's gonna be able to like how she's gonna survive. But obviously I know she does. So like it's just a hard read, and I think that if I read it as an audiobook, it will help me to like digest the story without literally wanting to throw this book across the room because I was literally that angry at this character, at a certain character. So no one should be reacting that way or treating their child in that way. But anywho, hey, again, just go into this cautiously. I think this is very important to read it, and it talks about not just about like sexual assault, but the immigrant story and like and how that all kind of like ties into each other with her specific experience. So yeah, there's that. And then I am going to be starting today, hopefully, Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellaflor. This one, oh, I forgot. The thing about this is I have to actually wait for like 2 weeks or else I would just continue reading, but as an audiobook. But Script doesn't have it available until like the 17th or 18th, so that's why. But anywho, now on to what I have. I want to start this today. This is like a romance a book, and it makes me think of like those Hollywood movies where like the woman's family is like constantly after her about why aren't you dating and all this bullshit, and it's like it's always set like around the holidays, and then because she's tired of her family constantly harping on her about her singlehood, that she like gets some guy, whether she knows them or not, like some or not, to like be there like to fake date, and then they end up actually falling in love. It has that in this book, but then you also have like a Pride and Prejudice aspect going on. So you have Darcy, whose brother is constantly setting her up on blind dates, and he sets her up with his business partner Elle Jones, and it was a complete disaster. But because she's tired of her brother constantly getting involved in her love life, she lies to him and tells him that it was actually good. Then, of course, Elle finds out what she had said and confronts Darcy about it. And then Darcy is begging Elle to just play along. And so she agrees as long as she is willing to fulfill the two conditions. One, to help her navigate her own overbearing family during the holidays, and two, that it will end at the end of New Year's Eve. So, yes, I'm also really excited to read this. I feel like after just trying to read that book, I needed something on the lighter side. It's like the lightest book I have to read. So, but other than that, I think I have like so many books in the library out, and I have like 1, 2, and then 3, 5 books in total out, and then I have 6 books ready to be picked up. So I'm trying to like get through these books, and it's kind of frustrating because I want to finish Lord of the Rings, and I want to continue on with the Bone Season series. I don't know if this season's called the Bone Season, by the way, but I feel like I need to actually focus on my library books for now. So my top 3 priorities, other than Written in the Stars for this week, if I can get to these 3, will be Third Son's A Charm by Shayna Galen. This is a romance novel. Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. This one is actually due later than these other books, but this is the one that I'm like the most excited to read. And then the last one is The Palace of Illusions by Shrita Banerjee Divakaruni. Sorry if I butchered that. So these are like the 3 books, or really 4 books that I want to try to like read this week. Hopefully it will happen. Either way, I hope your October was good. I hope you had a successful reading month, and I would love to hear if you read any of the books that I talked about and what you all been reading. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.